Tonight, you're going to open a bag of something sweet. Maybe it's chocolate. Maybe it's gummy bears. Maybe it's a spoonful of peanut butter straight from the jar at 11 p.m. Maybe it's the leftover cake in the office kitchen that nobody claimed. And you're going to tell yourself the same thing you always tell yourself. Just one more. One more piece. One more bite. One more handful. And then you'll have one more after that. And one more after that. And after a while, the bag is half empty and you're sitting there wondering what just happened. Not hungry. Not even enjoying it anymore. Just eating. Like someone else is controlling your hand and your brain is just watching. Sound familiar? Here's what nobody tells you. That wasn't a willpower failure. That wasn't a character flaw. That wasn't you being weak or undisciplined or broken. That was 200,000 years of human evolution firing on all cylinders inside your skull. And the wiring responsible for that moment is the same wiring that kept your ancestors alive through ice ages, famines, droughts, and predators that no longer exist. Let me explain. For the vast majority of human history, sugar was almost impossible to find. Your ancestors didn't have candy stores. They didn't have soda fountains. They didn't have a vending machine down the hall. They didn't have a drive-thru where you could order 44 ounces of liquid sugar for $1.50. What they had was fruit. Wild fruit. Seasonal fruit. Fruit that was small, fibrous, sour, and available for maybe 6 weeks a year if they were lucky. And even then, it was shared across the whole group. You didn't get a mango to yourself. You got a few bites. And honey. Honey was the jackpot. A wild beehive full of golden honey, hidden in a tree or a cliff face, guarded by thousands of stinging insects. Finding honey was dangerous. Getting stung was guaranteed. But the reward was so calorie-dense, so energy-packed, so rare that it was worth the pain. So your brain did something brilliant over hundreds of thousands of years. It wired sugar to survival. When your ancestors tasted something sweet, their brains released a massive flood of dopamine. Not a trickle, not a gentle nudge. A flood. The same neurotransmitter that fires when you find water in a desert. The same chemical reward that reinforces eating, drinking, mating, staying alive. Sugar meant calories. Calories meant energy. Energy meant you wouldn't starve to death this winter. Your brain didn't just like sugar. It classified sugar as a survival priority, right up there with water and warmth and not being eaten by something with claws. And here's the critical part that makes this so powerful. Your brain built tolerance and regulation systems for almost everything else. Drink too much water? You stop feeling thirsty. Sleep too long? You wake up naturally. Eat too much protein? You feel full. The body regulates. It balances. It says enough. But sugar? Sugar bypasses that system almost entirely. Your brain's reward circuitry was designed for a world where sweetness was rare. It never evolved an off switch for sugar because there was never enough sugar to need an off switch. The off switch would have been dangerous. If your ancestor ate a handful of berries and their brain said that's enough, they might not eat again for days. And in a world without refrigerators, without food storage, without any guarantee of the next meal, stopping early could mean dying early. So the wiring says keep going. Always keep going. Eat every sweet thing you can find because you don't know when you'll find it again. Now let's talk about what happens in your brain when that sugar hits your tongue. A 2007 study by researchers at the University of Bordeaux, led by Serge Ahmed, found that sugar triggers the same dopamine response in the brain's nucleus accumbens as cocaine. Not similar, not comparable. The same pathway, the same reward circuit, the same mechanism that makes controlled substances addictive. Your brain treats sugar the way it treats some of the most powerful drugs on the planet. Except, sugar is legal, cheap, socially encouraged, and available on every street corner in every city on Earth. And it gets worse. A lot worse. The more sugar you eat, the more your brain downregulates its dopamine receptors. That means the same amount of sugar that gave you a thrill last week barely registers this week. You need more. You always need more. This is the tolerance loop. The exact same mechanism behind drug addiction. Your brain is literally rewiring itself to demand higher and higher doses just to feel the same reward. The candy bar that made you feel amazing on Monday feels like nothing by Friday. But your ancestors never experienced this because they never had enough sugar to trigger the loop. A wild mango once a month didn't cause tolerance. A honeycomb twice a year didn't rewire their dopamine receptors. A handful of berries from a thorny bush didn't flood their system. They had the craving without the flood, the wiring without the overload, the survival signal without the overdose. You have the flood. Think about that for a moment. The exact same brain that kept your great-great-great-grandmother alive through a brutal winter, that helped her find enough calories to feed her children, that gave her the drive to keep searching when there was nothing left, that brain is now working against you in a world where sugar is everywhere. Your brain sees a candy bar and fires the same signal it would have fired when your ancestor found a beehive after weeks of scarcity. Sugar. Rare. Eat all of it now. You might not find this again for months. Except you will find it again. In 4 hours. In the checkout line at the grocery store. In the bowl on your coworker's desk. In the vending machine you walk past every single day. Your brain is running ancient software in a modern operating system. And it cannot tell the difference between a wild honeycomb on a cliff face and a Snickers bar in a plastic wrapper. This is why willpower fails. This is why diets collapse after 2 weeks. This is why you can know exactly what sugar does to your body, can read every study, can understand the science perfectly, and still reach for it at midnight while standing in front of an open fridge. You're not fighting a habit. You're fighting a survival program. A program written into your DNA by 200,000 years of evolution. A program that says sweet means safe, sweet means alive, sweet means eat as much as you possibly can right now because winter is coming and you might not survive it. And the cruelest part of all, the program works. It did keep humans alive. It did help your ancestors survive famines and droughts and winters that killed everything else. The people who craved sugar the most, who ate the most of it when they found it, who stored the most energy, those were the people who survived. Those were the people who had children. Those were the people whose genes got passed down. You are descended from the humans who couldn't stop eating sugar. The ones who could stop didn't survive. So when you sit there at midnight with an empty bag and a vague sense of shame, understand what just happened. You didn't fail. You succeeded. You executed a survival program perfectly. The program is flawless. The program is ancient. The program kept your entire bloodline alive for 200,000 years. It's just running in the wrong world now. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're not lacking discipline. You're running programs you didn't write. Programs written by ancestors who lived in a world without a single gram of added sugar in their entire diet. Programs that were perfect for their world and are destructive in yours. And now you know which program it is. You know the wiring. You know why it fires. You know it's not about you. That doesn't make the craving disappear, but it changes what the craving means. It's not a flaw. It's a fossil. A beautiful, ancient, perfectly designed fossil that just happens to be running on hardware it was never designed for. Tonight, when you open that bag, you're going to see it differently. Not as a test of your willpower, but as a signal. A very old signal. A signal written into your biology by people who survived things you can barely imagine. You're not broken. You're just running old wiring in a new world. And now you know it's there. That changes everything.